Welcome to lesson 2, role and function of supply chain management. In this lesson, we'll discuss about the role and function of supply chain management. Let's jump into it. The role and function of supply chain management is to oversee the entire process of transforming raw materials into finished products and delivering them to a customer. In the previous lesson, we talked about supply chain and its management. We said supply chain is the connection or the network of organizations, activities, resources, and processes involved in producing and also making sure that you deliver the finished product to customers. And so when we talk about the role and function of supply chain management, we are talking about that entire process of transforming raw materials into finished products and delivering the raw materials that have been transformed into finished products to the customers. That process is the role and function of supply chain management. To ensure that raw materials are transformed into finished products for customers' use, we need to go through series of processes. And these processes will go through are the roles and function of supply chain management. Now, supply chain management has to do with coordination and integration of various activities. So it has to do with operation, information workflow, and several other components that we need to look at. Supply chain management is basically looking at how do we coordinate with the different players or different stakeholders within the supply chain, coming from the manufacturer, coming from the supply of the raw materials, coming from the distributors, and all the different players, including logistics, technology. How do we coordinate and integrate, making sure that everyone can play their part and play it very well, so that we can make sure that there are increased access to goods and services to customers. Okay, so supply chain management is a critical portion of every business activity. And so the flow of materials, raw materials for production, the flow of information between different stakeholders within the supply chain, and the flow of finances for business purposes also look at that. Now let's explore on the roles and functions of supply chain management. Number one, planning and forecasting. The first key function and role of supply chain management is to plan and forecast. The planning and forecasting will inform you on the entire supply chain process, taking it from production and leading to delivery and all that. So supply chain management involves analyzing market demand. So we need to analyze the market demand to inform us about the demand of a particular product or service. This will ensure that we understand customers' need, try to also forecast or project the future requirements for that particular product. If we need to improve on that product, if we need to increase the production rate, or whatever we need to do. We also need to develop strategies to meet the demands of that particular product. Say, for instance, customers are requesting for that product more. So we need to think about how do we improve or how do we develop strategies to meet the demands of our suppliers or customers. So the planning and forecasting process involve activities such as demand planning. Demand planning will look at how do we make sure that we can plan to meet the demand of our customers. Then we look at sales and operations planning. How do we ensure that what we have produced from the manufacturing process can be sold to suppliers, can be sold to customers, and can be handed or can be delivered to different players within the supply chain. Then we look at inventory management. Inventory management looks at the availability of stock, the availability of product for customers. So product availability. Do we have enough in stock that will meet the demand of customers over a period of certain time while we are still waiting other supply? So the next step here is once we have done our planning and forecasting, now we are aware about the market demand, we are aware about the feature requirements, and we have also done strategy on how to meet the demand that we have realized in the planning and forecasting process. Then we move to the procurement and supplier management. Doing the procurement and supplier management, this is where we need to source and select suppliers. Who are we going to purchase or procure raw materials from? We need to source them. We need to identify potential suppliers for our sourcing process. And then we need to select those suppliers. Selection of suppliers also involve evaluation to ensure that the suppliers meet our quality standard. They're able to provide us the needed items and are also able to meet our specifications. And then we have to negotiate contracts with these various suppliers who will be supplying us different items or different areas within our business operations. So we need to negotiate with them on pricing, negotiate with them on quality standards and delivery time and all that stuff. Then we need to manage supplier relationships. This will be looking at communication between the suppliers at different phases of the production line. And we also need to ensure that we are able to work with suppliers over a period of long term so that we always have access to suppliers from our suppliers. So supplier relationship management or procurement management ensures that the right materials and components are procured from reliable sources at the right price, right quantity, right quality, and the right time. There's something called the 5 why or the 5 right in procurement. This is about getting it at the right time, the right price, right quantity, right quality, right time, and from in the right place. So all these things are very critical for you to ensure that you have access to what it takes to produce as a business. Right price, right quality, right quantity, right time, and the right place. Those are the 5 rights that you need to get in the procurement process. That means then the procurement or supply management should look at how do you get the needed items or source your products or source your items in at the right price, getting the right price. Remember, there should be value for money. So you don't just want to spend it anyhow. You want to make sure you minimize cost of production here, but you are not compromising the quality as well. So you need to make sure you get it at the right price, then the right quality. So you don't want to compromise on quality. You need to also look at how to get it at the right time. That's delivery. Remember, you need it in certain time frame for the business use, or you need it in certain time frame for production. So you need to talk about delivery time. It's very, very much important. Then you need to also look at the right place. It must be delivered at the right place. Okay, that is also very, very much important. Lastly, at the right quantity. The right quantity. It should be delivered in the right amount. The right amount. Remember, you need to have enough supply that you'll be able to produce more to supply more. Okay. Then number 3, production and operations management. Now we have enough in stock. We have done procurement and supply management. We need to now produce and operate. Okay. In the production and operations management, supply chain management will look at production processes. What are the processes involved in production? This includes capacity planning. Okay, we look at our capacity, we look at both human capacity, our institutional capacity to produce to some extent. We look at the, if we require much more capacity, increase human resources, and if we need to provide a much more advanced training to meet up with the new standard and all that. So we need to make sure that we fix our capacity planning. And this involves human, material-wise, equipment-wise, other things. So we need to think about that. Okay, you want to produce certain commodity. You want to produce certain product at certain standard. You need the capacity for that. The capacity, the human. Do you have the staffing to produce that level? Do they know what to produce? Do they know how to produce it? Do you have the needed equipment to produce at that level? That is the capacity planning. Do you have the needed materials to produce at that level? So the capacity planning will look at the needed resources, including the people, the materials, and the equipment to produce a certain level in terms of quantity, quality, and all the different standards involved. Then you also look at scheduling. Scheduling is important in production operations. So we need to decide on when are we going to produce this amount of quantity or this amount of product within time frame. And everyone within the team or the human resource can work within time. And everyone should be able to, you need to track time to ensure that they are very much productive and they are actually efficient. Then you also look at materials. How are we using materials to achieve or produce at is between certain time frame? And then we look at equipment. How are we using the equipment to produce in certain time frames? So scheduling plays a critical role in the production operations management. Then we look at quality control. Of course, we need to ensure that we are producing at the right quality because we have to deliver to our suppliers at the right quality. If it is not done so, they will return it. Remember about reverse logistics. They will return those things that do not meet their quality standard or their specifications. So we need to ensure that there is a quality control over our production period so that we don't go into losses of getting return items that we need to recycle and spend more time without actually benefiting. So quality control, we look at how do we ensure that we reduce errors. How do we ensure that we improve on the right thing? How do we ensure that we deliver on the right product, the right quantity, the right standards, and everything that we need to do right? Okay, so the supply chain management under production and operations management ensures that manufacturing operations are efficient enough. We are achieving the results that we need to achieve. We are producing the amount of quantity that we need to produce over the period of a specific time. That is very important in efficiency. Then we look at cost effectiveness. Cost effectiveness looks at how well are we using resources. Are we utilizing available technologies? Are we utilizing available human resource and all that? So we need to look at the most cost effective way or the way that we need to produce without spending too much money. Because if you spend too much on production, you might lose at the end because the product might be too expensive and getting it over to others and the supplier might be weak or afraid to buy, thinking that it will be too expensive. So we need to look at the most cost effective way to produce these products, in as much as we are not compromising quality as well, but we are ensuring that we don't use too much expensive things to produce. At the end of the day, our customers cannot afford. Then we look at aligned with customers' demand. So our production and operations management should be aligned with customers' demand. Of course, we've done that at the first step, which looks at planning and forecasting. We already done our demand planning. We already done our market research, our market survey to understand the demand of customers, the need of customers, and then we should be able to meet that need or demand in the production process. Number 4, inventory management. After we produced the different products that we have available, we need to make sure we manage our inventory. Inventory looks at the level of the stock level, the available orders or the available items that you can be able to fulfill for customers' order. So supply chain management aims to optimize inventory levels to maximize costs while maintaining to minimize costs rather, while maintaining adequate stock to fulfill customers' order. So supply chain management helps us to manage our inventory, manage our available stock so that we have adequate stock to fulfill customer order. Again, as we said, it is quite frustrating to tell a customer that you are out of order. That means you don't have the particular product they need available. Customers are frustrated. Customers looking for solutions. They want it urgently. They're not waiting. They are not concerned about the challenges you go through. They don't care about your limitation, your capacity level. All they know is what they need at the particular time should be given. Remember, in the procurement process, we talk about five right at the right price, the right time, the right quality, the right quantity, and the right place. So customers are looking at these things. They want it at the right price, what they can afford. They want it at the right quality, what they want, their specification. They want it at the right time, their delivery process in terms of when they want it, even at their broad level, or maybe they want it within a set period of time based on their purchase plan. And then they also want it at the right quantity, the amount that they want, maybe 10, 15 or so, depending on their usage. And then they also want it at the right place, delivery. Okay, so all these things are very critical to look at when it comes to inventory management, in that you are able to you're able to have enough in stock to meet the demand of the customers. And that is what demand planning, or the planning and the forecasting stage, which is the first stage, should be done properly. And if it is done properly, it will inform you on the entire steps or roles and functions that you need to take in order to improve your supply chain process. So supply chain management under the inventory management involves managing inventory across the different supply chain. This includes raw materials, ensuring that you have enough raw materials to produce enough. The more raw materials you have, the more you produce. So you need to make sure you get contact with your supplier relationship management. You need to contact your suppliers, those who supply you with raw materials. I'm talking about companies that are involved in manufacturing and production. So they get in touch with suppliers for raw materials, and then these companies or suppliers for raw materials supply you the needed raw materials for production. So if, for example, a company that involved into car production, producing vehicle, you need to get a supplier who will supply you with these necessary accessories or necessary equipment or materials for you to assemble the different form of vehicles. So depending on the kind of vehicle you're producing, like Toyota or whatever, you require certain raw materials. Okay, so you have various suppliers across the market that are providing different range of different kind of materials, and you need to always be aware of what is available in the market and be able to go for it. And that is very critical for inventory. So inventory, raw materials, because the more raw materials you have in stock, that's how you're able to produce. Okay, but don't do that if you don't understand the demand for that particular product. Then you also look at work in progress. Inventory management looks at what is the work in progress. How many do we have in stock? How many are we currently producing? Okay, so that is very important. So we need to look at our production. That means we need to have a system that will monitor the production rate to ensure that we are able to keep track of how the production is going, the work in progress, and how far we produce, to what level, and how much we have in stock that we're able to do. Then we also need to track finished goods. We need to be able to show how much we have finished with, okay, in terms of the production rate. Imagine we're producing like 1,000 of this particular commodity. So we need to track the raw materials available for us to produce that 1,000 of the commodity. Then we need to monitor the work in progress, the operational aspect, so that we ensure everyone is doing what is required to produce that 1,000 within a set period of time. Remember, we have delivery time. And also, we need to monitor the finished goods. How many of it are finished? So we need to have people who will do monitoring, who will do quality control, who will do all the different components to ensure that we meet the customer's need at the end of the period we are given to produce. Then we have number 5, logistics and transportation. Logistics and transportation is another critical role and function of supply chain management. And this involves managing the movement of goods from suppliers to manufacturers. Of course, suppliers who give raw materials will have to move the raw materials from where they are to the manufacturers so that they can be able to manufacture it into finished product. Of course. So the goods or the raw materials come from the supplier of raw materials to the manufacturer or the producer. And then the producer receives them, and the producer transforms the raw materials into finished products. Now, when the raw material is done or finished into finished product, the raw material is then supplied to distributors. So distributors are the ones who bring the finished product very close to the customer. Okay, so the producer or the distributor goes and collect the finished goods from the manufacturer or the producer to bring it into the closer environment to the customers. Then the retailer who sells it small, goes and buy from the distributors or the suppliers or wholesaler to sell small. So the retailer go and buy from the distributor or the wholesaler to sell small. And obviously from the retailer, the last person in line is the customer. So it depends on the chain of transportation. There are different distribution channels. There are distribution channels that come from supplier strictly to the manufacturers, and from manufacturers to consumers. So there are instances where consumers go and buy straight from the production line where they are doing the production. They don't go through retailer, they don't go through wholesaler. They go strictly to the producer and buy from there. Okay, they order directly from the producer to consume it. Okay, that is a straight way or no middleman channel. And then there's another channel where we go through the entire process from manufacturer, and then we purchase from retailer. And of course, retailer gets it from the distributors, distributor gets it from manufacturer, and then we get it from retailer as customers at the consumer's rate. So that is another distribution channel. That distribution channel is a bit longer because you have to, the supplier, the retailer will get it from the distributor will get it from the manufacturer, and then reaching on. So the manufacturer will get the raw materials from suppliers, transform the raw materials into finished goods, and then the manufacturer will now turn over the finished goods to distributors. Distributor also turn over to the retailer, and then retailer will now reach it out to customers. So that's how the process runs in that distribution channel. And there's another distribution channel that moves strictly from the manufacturer to wholesaler, and from the wholesaler to the consumer. So consumer do not buy from retailer, they go strictly to the wholesaler to buy as well. So it depends. But the widely used purchasing process, especially among individuals, come from where? Buying from retailers. Okay, because most time they are buying small quantities, so they just buy from retailers. But people who buy in large quantity, the organizations and all that, they prefer buying from distributors, or you can say wholesaler, because they want to get value for their money. So the supply chain management under logistics and transportation looks at how do we make sure that goods are moved from one location to another using air, using road, using sea. So these are different channels or means of transportation. So it involves selecting appropriate transportation modes. Transportation modes, like what is the appropriate transportation modes? Is it by air, by road, or by sea? And then we also need to look at how to manage warehouses and distribution centers. Once we have the supplies, we need to store them in warehouses and or distribution channels or distribution centers. So take for instance, you have the headquarters here, and you have distribution centers across different areas within that particular country. And so once you receive it at the headquarters, you are able to now release to different distribution centers where people can now be able to purchase from. Then you need to optimize transportation routes. This is very important. Optimizing transportation routes will ensure that goods are delivered on time to meet the customer's demand. Number 6, information systems and technology. Supply chain management cannot function properly in this current age without the use of technology. In fact, if you don't use information systems and technology, you are going to be lost. In fact, you're not even going to proceed in any aspect, coming from raw materials to manufacturing or production, distribution, retailing, and customers. There will be no way you are going to do all these without the use of information systems and technology. In fact, in our current evolving world, technology plays a critical role in every business processes. And in fact, if a business will have to progress, or we have to improve, or we have to meet customer demand, you need to utilize available technology to do that. Technology will help us in supply chain when it comes to effective communication and collaboration across the supply chain. Remember, in the supply chain, you are working with different stakeholders. You're working with logistics, you're working with distributors, you're working with retailers, you're working with manufacturers, you're working with all the different players within the supply chain. And so for you to effectively move across and ensure that things are working accordingly, you need to have effective communication and collaboration. And how do you do that? You use technology, the internet. Okay, you use available tools and software to communicate across different boards, because we are not sitting in one place, we are not together. Even when we are at the same factory or the same production area, the factory is so big in a way that we are not able to meet each other before we communicate. So we need to have a kind of information system and technology that will enable us communicate even from distance and ensure that we are all on path. We're able to collaborate. So we need to use cut edging tools available technology that will inform us on how to do that. There are a lot of software available to help in the area of procurement, in the area of supply chain and all that. So there are a lot like Oracle. I mean, there are several other technologies or software available to help us in the entire process. So it includes tools for demand planning. So these tools help us to plan or to forecast demand. And it also helps in inventory management. This will help us know how much we have in stock, how much we have that are finished, and how much we have in progress. And then it also looks at order tracking. Here we can see what have been put in order, and then we are able to track to know whether we have actually finished what we are to finish with and deliver to distributors. Then we look at data analytics to support decision making. Okay, we need to have real-time data, real-time information that will inform us about this, and this will include visualizing data, looking at graph charts and other visualization that we can be able to make informed decision as well. And humans cannot just do these things. We need to use technology to inform us about data or make analysis on data to easily do decision making on the process of what to do. Okay, now in conclusion, by following these critical roles and functions of supply chain management, talked about planning and demanding and forecasting, talked about procurement and supplier management, talk about production, manufacturing. He talk about the logistics and transportation and all these different processes, including the information systems and technology. I mean, we need to make sure that all these roles and functions are playing very well along the line in the supply chain process. It will lead to effective and efficient transformation of raw materials into finished product. And at the end of it all, we are able to ensure timely delivery to customers. This will increase customers' trust, this will increase customer loyalty, and it will also drive more sale to the company. Thanks for completing this lesson. See you in the next lesson.